Hot for TV.
Welcome back to Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at all things Doctor Who Extended Universe. Today, in another Advent Calendar festive edition, I'm joined by Joe Lidster. Joe, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Festive tidings. It's a wonderful time of year.
Because it is Christmas, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I've got the tinsel out.
Well, look, thanks for joining me. But before we get into it, I would love to know, do Doctor Who annuals or any other annuals play any part in your childhood or life?
Yeah, it was actually quite fun. I don't know. I can't remember if I've got this one or not because I'm not at home at the moment. And used to get them because you used to get these and the Target novelizations and anything like that. And I was thinking about it, and I think it's because obviously the internet didn't exist and things like that. It didn't see all the old TV stories. I mean, there's still a lot, even though they're all available now, there's still lots of stories I haven't seen. So actually, once I realized that the TV show I liked was the same TV show as I used to get the Peter Davison hardbacks from the library. Once I made the connection that Doctor Who was the same as Doctor Who with Sylvester and Sophie on the telly, I wanted to find out all about old Doctor Who. It's once I really, I crossed that fateful line from being, I like this TV show too. I must know everything this TV show. And so, like, what you do is, and obviously, like, the episodes were available. You could rent out videos. The Hull library, which is about 30 miles from us, had some videos which you'd rent out, but for the most part, didn't really have access to it. But what you could have access to was books. So all of that, especially the John Pertwee era. I mean, I read everything and got the annuals, got annuals like this one long before I saw most of the TV shows. I had no idea who Joe Grant was and the Master and everything like that. Well, I knew the Master was from later on, but, Benton and Yates and everything like that, it all was from the books and from the annuals. So, yes, I've kept the annuals. And I'll keep them until the next time I'm really massively unemployed.
There's a weird thing in sort of the 80s and the 90s where the 70s and 80s annuals are in every second-hand shop, it felt like to me. And it was a sort of thing that an auntie or a grandmother would pick up for 50p and go, I've got you this because I know you like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody I speak to is like that. It's like a race memory that happens to Doctor Who.
Totally, yeah. And they were exciting, they are interesting. There's lots to talk about them. But at the time, they were just really exciting. And I think also because I'm sure annuals probably did exist of stuff that I watched. But all I can remember is the Beano and the Dandy annuals. I don't really remember any other. But then, especially what I can't really remember, wasn't going to be an annual for every second counts or anything. Also, so I can't think of what there would have been annuals about. Certainly, things like the Demon Headmaster or whatever, children's TV shows didn't really have annuals, I don't think. So it felt odd to have, whereas the only annuals we saw were these comic strip ones, it felt odd to have ones with photos on the front of Doctor Who and people like that.
And for a lot of people, I guess it would have been their first sort of step into Doctor Who fiction that wasn't the TV, because the Target books were novelizations of the TV. We didn't have New Adventures or Big Finish or what have you then. I guess it was either this or comic strips in Doctor Who magazine are like pretty much always going to be your into the extended universe of Doctor Who.
Yeah, there would have been, wouldn't they? And I think what's interesting is just how the annuals don't try and I don't think they try and really capture the TV series or anybody in it to a great extent.
Brand management or brand synergy was not a thing with this.
No, and I've just written a novelization of a Doctor Who story, which has had to go through, obviously, the my editor, and then the next stage was brand management by hit the brand, and they took out a slightly naughty joke because they went, that's not on brand. Whereas, you look at these annuals and you're like, what?
So the story we are discussing today is Galactic Gangster, which is from the Doctor Who annual 1974, which came out in September of 73. Have you ever experienced this before? Any recollection of it?
I don't know if I've got the annual or not, because for the most part, it's probably the horrible thing to most part, I would have bought the annuals, read them once, and then stuck them on a shelf. And this is 30 odd years ago, 35 years ago, and won't have looked at them since. I don't regularly take them off the shelf and Let's catch a
Weird that.
Galactic Gangster. I don't remember reading it before. I don't think I'll forget reading it this time.
I picked this one simply because of the title. I have no in-depth knowledge of the annuals, and whenever I'm talking to someone about doing things, some people are like, I strongly remember X story from the 1983 annual. Otherwise, just pick them out. And I was flicking through this annual and I was like, Galactic Gangster, because Doctor Who isn't really somebody that deals with mobsters on a sort of regular basis.
No, and doesn't massively in this story either. No, the only annual I remember the one I remember is there's a Tom Baker one, and maybe it's the first one because I don't remember the stories at all, but I remember the pictures, and he's sort of dressed like the man from Del Monte.
Yeah.
And all the pictures are actually really quite cool. They're really sort of like moody gangster film pics or something. And I presume it like must be Tom Baker's first one because and just the bizarreness of Sarah Jane or Leela, whoever it is, not looking remotely like who they are. So yeah, no, that's my one big memory is I do remember getting that annual and thinking these pictures are really cool. Who are these people?
There is a Tom Baker one where they've clearly been handed a load of reference photos, and some of them are them in costume, and some of them are publicity photos in their civvies. And the artist has obviously not known the difference and gone, yeah, I guess Doctor Who wears, a pullover, and some flares.
And nobody's gone, no, he wears this. It's brilliant. I mean, it must have been great fun to work on.
I mean, we're also kind of at a bit of a loss with some of these of who actually wrote and did the art. Like some of them we know, others we don't, because it was definitely somebody at World Distributors just knocking out story after story after story for different annuals. And I wouldn't be surprised if variations of Galactic Gangster show up in like a Joe 90 annual or something like that.
Right, yeah.
This leads us to Galactic Gangster. So what do we think of this story, such as it is?
I don't like to be negative. It's one of the worst things I've ever read, and one of the worst pieces of writing I've ever read. And then I have to say it is very, very funny. And there's actually a glorious bit in the middle of it describing a space battle that's really good and really exciting. But I mean, right from the opening sentence, it's Jojo, where are you? Bellowed Doctor Who into the empty blackness of that vast deserted hangar. I'm like, what deserted hangar? It's that in the first sentence. That makes no sense. But although what I do love, then he bellows into the hangar, and the next line is him instantly hissing a warning to the Brigadier not to reply too loudly, which actually I just think is really John Pertwee. I just think that's absolutely classic Third Doctor. But yeah, it's such a bizarre piece of writing because I was thinking about. I only just thought of this, so I haven't. There's a Doctor Who story. I think it is Sound of Drums, where David Tennant, Martha, and Jack go back to Earth, and John Sims the Prime Minister. That's Sound of Drums, isn't it? Yeah. And he builds those glasses that mean you can't focus on things.
Yeah,
it's a bit like what reading this was like. I just started reading it going, what? Why are you talking about Hercules all of it? Why are you talking about Earth like you don't know where it is? Or why are we getting this in-depth explanation of molecules in the and yet not being told who that man over there is? But it's very funny. And there's like really early on, there's the weapon. All the weapons she has is her torch. It's like, has this been written by AI? Like, that makes no sense.
There is no writing style like it. I've got a passage here that sort of stuck out to me. And he goes, afterwards, he was never quite able to recall how it had been, but all the winking lights of the unit torches vanished into the circular space in the middle of the hangar, like a fantastic vision of a colossal television screen. There materialized a scene. Then a scene, exclamation mark, by all the galaxies, thought Doctor Who. The scene before his eyes bore no slightest resemblance to anything he had ever witnessed and ever imagined in all his wanderings in the vastness of space and time. It's just that people don't write like that.
I mean, it's just crazy. And it reminds me of do you remember Little Britain, the TV show Little Britain?
Yeah.
It used to be I think it was in that. He used to be Barbara Cartland.
Yes, yeah.
And it's like, how many words is that? And it feels a bit like that at times. You're like, how many words is that? Well, I'll spend a paragraph describing planets. Right, okay. Does that explain where Joe Grant is? No, but it's fine. Doctor Who's never seen planets before, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have its own internal continuity, because at certain points it thinks the Doctor's a human from Earth. Then he's talking about his wanderings in time and space. It's like there is nobody has bothered to. It's like the words are just coming out of the
Yeah.
pen. He's going, that'll do, that'll do, that'll do.
There's a bit where the Doctor thinks about, or the prose represent said something about terrified Joe, but Joe's not in it.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't know what Joe's state is. You can't do that. And it's also got a really bizarre thing of the Doctor and the Brigadier are sometimes in lowercase. But again, you're like, did nobody just briefly look at this and go, sorry, wait a minute. But actually, if you're going to read that a bit, I'm going to read that a bit because this is my favourite Brigadier line. Oh, this is after Doctor Who woke into life. You're off again, Doctor, he groaned. This is the Brigadier. What new gimmick is it now? Your assistant vanishes. You receive a message on some newfangled subspace radio you've built. You hear some garbled message, which you tell me gives you coordinates based on distant starts and on the location of the pole star 10,000 years ago. This is supposed to give you a time and a place for some mysterious meeting with this imaginary signaller whose message you intercepted. What does all this nonsense add up to, I may acquire? And I'm like, I don't know. You may inquire because I haven't got it, but I want to hear John Coulshaw do that. You know, he's doing the Brigadier for Big Finish.
Yeah.
Get him to record these lines.
But I mean, he does. The Brigadier fares better than Joe Grant, who only screams in the whole thing, apart from the final line where she offers to make some coffee.
I have literally written that down. I was like, she disappears. Then when we see her, she's being held in the grasp of the big bloke and she's screaming and squirming. She later screams again. She springs up as the bloke drops her. Then at the end, she does a crazy little laugh and says she'll go make coffee for everyone. I'm like, classic Joe Grant.
I'm sure there's some PTSD involved in that.
Yeah, it was a different time.
What about the titular Galactic Gangster, such as he is?
He's got a great line. I suppose this is some small primitive world on the outer fringe of this galaxy. It'll be my base for the recovery of my empire, snatched from me now by the poltroons of my enemies, whom I spit on. And I was like, I'm going to say that next time I'm in Greg's. Vegan sausage roll, poltroons. Spit on this. But yeah, he literally just says what he wants, doesn't he? It's about a page of dialogue going, this is who I am, this is what I want. And then we get, obviously, how the clever way that Doctor Who saves the day, which is amazing. And then the other aliens go, yeah, we'll get rid of him. And you're like, brilliant. Great villain. But he's 8 foot tall or 9 foot. They're not decided. So that works in the pictures.
So, I mean, you mentioned the resolution there. And it feels like, again, somebody's never seen Doctor Who and doesn't know how the characters of the Doctor and the Brigadier work. But so why don't you share how the situation is resolved?
Doctor Who knocks out the giant with what he then describes as the best weapon of all, his fist. Which all the navies of the other giants, as they say, their navies, and all their special weapons that couldn't get rid of him, but Doctor Who's fist could. And so I love the fact that, what is it, 1973, 74? I love the fact 1974, all these little nerdy boys like me are going, oh, that's what I'm going to do the next time someone's picking on me. I'm going to hit them. That's what Doctor Who does. That won't get my head kicked in. I mean, it's just brilliant. And also just like, you've spent the whole thing describing him as 8 or 9 foot tall.
John Pertwee's tall, but he's not that tall.
Exactly. It's like, he'd have to jump to do it. And also, if you're going to do the he knocks him out ending like that because special weapons don't work, he needs to be a tiny little genius.
Yeah.
You go, well, all the weapons don't work. What can we do? He could just hit him. Oh, sorted. The whole point of him being 8 foot, 9 foot tall means you can't beat him up.
Maybe he punched him in his galactic ghoulies. You know.
Maybe, yeah, that would work. And all the other aliens didn't think of that.
But I like the fact that the Brigadier's the one that's like, oh no, we won't try any of our Earth weapons on him because he'll be too powerful.
Won't work.
And Doctor Who's like, I will knock this bastard out.
Yeah, I will knock him out. I will have him. It's great. And then the other aliens have a brilliant bit who just popped up.
Of course.
Although they look like him, I think. I don't know. He will be unmade. The lifespan he had will be retraced, then bypassed. To all intents and purposes, he will never have been. It will be. But I see that such a concept is far beyond your mind. So farewell.
But it's not. It's very clear.
It's not beyond my mind. I understand it, and I'm not Doctor Who. Also, it's what that then happens to Margaret Slevine in Boomtown. That's literally what happened. But it's so far. But I mean, I just love anyone who says farewell is my favourite way of saying goodbye to people. Farewell.
Does it feel anything like the era that it's representing on the TV show?
It feels like, I think, it could feel like that. The deserted hangar, the unit soldiers, the doctor, for all that, we might go, he's this pacifist and clever, especially John Pertwee did do the Aikido stuff, like City of Death
Yeah.
saves the day. So, it can happen. But I think there would have to be a bit more mystery, maybe.
And I want to know how big this warehouse is.
It's massive, apparently. You just and there's some where it's like unit soldiers hanging around it, and I think it means standing around it, but it sounds like they're all hung up on butchers.
Oh, because they've all been through a vacuum, which has apparently frozen them somehow. Or
I
something.
don't quite know what the vacuum's for.
No, me neither.
I presume that's how the gangster gets here.
Yeah.
I've read it about 4 times now, and I'm still not 100% certain on who he is, what he wants, or why he's there, and how he's presumably taken control of many other planets and that, and no one's ever thought to hit him.
Wait till those guys discover guns. How do you feel about the artwork?
It's beautiful. I actually think Doctor Who looks like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The Brigadier looks like Dastardly or Rob Rotten from Lazy Town. If you've ever seen that, he's very much got his chin. And I don't know what Joe is doing in the main illustration, but I think it's Eurovision. It's But actually, I mean, they're colourful and fun. I mean, that's what you want it to be. It is just that odd thing where you go, do you not have pictures of Nicholas Courtney?
I think they only wanted to pay for the likenesses of John Pertwee. So I think that's why it is. Because if you look through the annual, the rest of it, John Pertwee is always John Pertwee.
Yeah.
And the other characters look different. Joe never quite looks Joe, and the Brig never quite looks Briggy. So I think that's what it is. But I mean, you can't imagine them getting away with this now and going, oh, well, we're going to pay for the likeness of Ncuti Gatwa. But
everyone else, just whoever.
Yeah. The art varies in these things. And I think this is like, I can imagine being 10 years old, picking this up and going, wow, this is amazing.
Totally. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's a 8-foot or 9-foot big green bloke holding Joe, well, a woman. It might vaguely be Joe. She's blonde, holding her, and armies and that and all that. It's really exciting, and I think that's the thing. It's I don't know. It's like not everything needs to be the best written thing in the world, and this isn't. But I imagine as a kid reading it, you were like, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely, like, if you are 10 years old, this will pass 20 minutes or so. Does it make you want to explore more of the worlds of the annuals of Doctor Who?
Yeah, no, it does actually. Because I've got most of them actually, and I did enjoy. I remember enjoying them, and they're so funny, and it is such a. I feel like it's such a Doctor Who thing that these annuals exist that bear no resemblance to the TV show, and he's called Doctor Who, even though he's literally never called that in the TV series. And it's like, and the Brigadier, and like you say, they haven't paid for the likenesses of people, and a designer thinks that Tom Baker occasionally wears a white suit, and the stories are resolved by people punching things, and none of it. But I think it's such a bizarrely Doctor Who thing that there's not this glossy thing, which obviously there is for the new series. When the new series happens, everything's like you said, the brand management team and everything like that. But it feels such a like the William Hartnell ones are so bizarre.
Yeah, there's a William Hartnell one where he has to strip naked at one point, which is just not something that you see every day.
I don't want to see that. And I think the Peter Davison ones tend to be they have the companions in, don't they?
Yeah, I think by the time JNT takes over, he's like, no, you've got to use the current TARDIS team and make them look like it. So the stories aren't any better, but at least you can recognise the characters.
You know who they're meant to be.
It'd be interesting to see, like, I imagine a few years later there's a Star Wars annual, whether the stories in something like that are so as off-brand, or whether
See, in my mind, I suspect Star Wars was probably all on brand, wasn't it?
Yeah,
actually. I mean, Star Wars. I don't really know much about Star Wars, but I know it's famous for all its toys. Presumably, all its toys do actually look like the characters they're meant to be.
Yeah,
even when I was a kid, we had Dapple models Doctor Who, and it's like what nonsense.
I mean, I've got a
Eh,
bunch of Dappols right behind me,
Have
and
you?
they're
You've got all the many,
glorious.
many different versions of Mel, different colour tops. The green canine, the five-sided console thing. It's like even when I was, even with John Nathan Turner with his finger on everything, it's like even then Dapple's getting away with. I remember the Ace figure just being, I don't know what it was.
She looks like she's been in a fire, the Ace
Yeah,
figure. It's like, it is absolutely.
it's horrific.
And when you get into the later ones, like after JNT's left, Dapol start doing their limited edition runs, and it's like the Christmas Canine, and it's just got Merry Christmas painted on it, and that's the only difference. And
Oh,
uh,
absolutely. Now I want a Christmas canine. The absolute shysters.
and do you remember the Millennium Daleks?
No?
So there were 6 of these glittery,
Oh,
glittery camp Daleks, and
that's
these,
amazing.
yeah,
And they came out for the Millennium.
yeah, and there were 6 of them, and the actual set go for a fortune, but like only if they're in their boxes. I picked these up for
Yeah,
about a fiver just because I thought they were great. But yeah, there we go.
they're great fun.
Another stocking filler there.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to say about Galactic Gangster?
Just that, it's terrible, but to not be mean spirited it's really funny. It's really entertaining. The Doctor Who knocking him out with a punch is just so funny, even if none of that actually physically makes any sense. So yeah, no, I think those annuals must have been so, because presumably they come out at Christmas, did they?
Yeah, a couple of months before,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they must have been so excited on Christmas Day. I think it's difficult sometimes even to remember, like, it was certainly like it, into my adulthood, of not instantly having access to everything.
Yeah.
So you didn't have access to Claws of Axos. It just didn't, you couldn't, you saw it once on telly and never would see it again. So there must have been something so exciting about these annuals, bizarre and sometimes terrible though they are. I think opening one of those on Christmas Day must have been so exciting,
Mm.
because it just must have been like, yeah, this is new adventures for my favorite person.
I'd love to hear from someone who was sort of 10 when the new series came back and whether they've got the same sort of attachment to the new series annuals.
Yeah, because they would have had more internets, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So they already had access to stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting at the moment. I've just written this Target novelization of a Doctor Who story, and there's part of me that's like, I've tried to write it as the Target novelization, not Terrence Dicks, and his prose is just too good. I couldn't do Terrence Dicks, but to try and emulate that sort of brilliantly, simply, deceptively simple way of retelling a story. But it's that odd thing where I go, I don't think there'll be many. I don't know, but I guess not many kids would buy it.
Yeah.
I've written it's Aliens of London, which is like 20 years old. It'd be adults buying the Target
Yeah.
novelizations now, because kids who love Doctor Who, a child who loves Doctor Who now has got iPlayer
Yeah.
and has got a pad. Every kid's got a pad these days, it's got a pad and it's got iPlayer. So go over there and rewatch Shooty's Final Adventure, rather than, I'm going to read this book because I saw this when I was a kid, or I've never seen it and it's really exciting, because any kid that right now wants to see Aliens of London can see it. So I think in a way, it's quite sad, but that's also just me being an old man. But in a way, I do think it's quite sad that actually you can now discover all of Doctor Who so easily.
Yeah.
Whereas for my generation, it was that thing of, I don't know who is Joe Grant,
Yeah.
What's my learning about it from the books? I had no idea about Katie Manning's performance. What I knew about her was that her uncle had got her into unit. That was it, repeated in every book. Her uncle had got her into unit.
And you think this uncle's going to be a big part of the story?
Never turns up. Probably in a big finish. So yeah, I think there is an odd thing these days, and I think it would be interesting to see what a kid in 2005 was doing when they were getting the annual. But certainly, I think a kid in 1974 getting this annual for Christmas, that must have just been the highlight of Christmas.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you get a Doctor Who annual for Christmas this year.
Oh, do they still do them?
Yeah, they still do them.
That's awful. I should know. Yes, they still do them.
My dad still buys me a Doctor Who annual every Christmas, and it goes in a cupboard, and I never read it. This is one of the reasons why I decided to do this, because I was like, I can pick some of them out.
Yeah, just get the good ones. But it was, that reminds me when I was I think I was at university, so it's about 1920, and I lived normal student lifestyle.
Mm.
Stint in, I think the Doctor Who books are still coming out. I think I still bought the New Adventures, but that was it. I didn't know any Doctor Who. I wasn't living a Doctor Who geek lifestyle, which I very much love doing. I was very much living a going out a lot and
Yeah.
occasionally going to a lecture type thing. And I just remember one year my brother got me for Christmas a Star Trek jigsaw puzzle. That was the year I had to tell my family, it's like, look, I love Doctor Who. I quite like Star Trek. I don't need everything that's got the name written on it. I'm 20 years old. I don't do many jigsaw puzzles at university. That's all we're going to say on the matter. Yes, but I would love an annual for Christmas.
A similar thing happened to me. My dad used to send me any old crap with a logo on it, like Doctor Who Adventures and things like that. All amazing, but ultimately I didn't have any use for it. And
No.
I put it in boxes under my bed in my shared student house. And then a few years later, I was like, I'm getting rid of this stuff. I don't need it. So I took it all to the charity shop. And then my partner at the time walked past the charity shop and was like, oh my God, loads of Doctor Who stuff, and bought it all back for me.
Amazing. That's actually brilliant.
You just can't escape it.
No, there is no escape. And it's normally sad, because normally if you see a load of Doctor Who books in a charity shop, like, oh dear, better check in on all my mates.
Oh, there was Oxfam's eBay site recently had like a collection, and I was talking about like with a mate, and I was like, this is one of us, isn't it? This isn't somebody, because this wasn't a couple of annuals. This was like, oh no, I've got the Mythmakers soundtrack, and I've got this BBV, all the BBV audios and things like that. And it's like, okay, you are that was one of us. Either that, or they've got divorced and their partner has taken all their stuff down the charity shop.
Yeah, and I think Doctor Who fans, all of us, we have a mission. What we all need to do is at some point write a little list for our families to say, this stuff is worth something, eBay it, send this to Oxfam. It's like, because they would just go, Doctor Who tat, off to Oxfam. You're like, what's actually worth something?
I've said to my partner Daisy, if I die prematurely in a freak accident, speak to my brother. He knows what's worth stuff.
Because the annuals are odd, aren't they? Because the annuals are randomly, one is hundreds of pounds, everything else is £5.
Yeah.
It's I'm selling my New Adventures on eBay, and like randomly, a quite random non-Doctor Who New Adventure from really late on, presumably they didn't print that many, it's worth £70-80, as opposed to other ones which, Time Worm Exodus, which is absolutely brilliant because it's there in sticks, can't get a fiver for it. It's like, that's really, it's obviously nothing to do with the stuff inside. It's such an odd thing.
Absolutely. Well, look, I won't keep you any longer. I'll let you get on with your Christmas. Nudge, nudge, wink,
I know.
wink.
Go open my stocking and make a nut roast or something.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
It's been a hoot. But until next time, I've been Dylan.
I've been Joe. And
this has been Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV, the Advent Calendar.
Doctor Who, too hot for TV.
Incidentally, a happy Christmas to all of you at home.